At this time, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I will ask you all to silence your cell phones or any electronic devices that make noise at this time. And I'll ask Val, Mrs. Manning, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Mayor Villa?
Here. And now I'll ask you all to rise for the invocation led by Commissioner Johnson and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, God, it is my pleasure to come to you and talk to you tonight. And I don't ask for a thing. I just thank you for everything you do for us. I just hope you help us all to remember that you're the great, awesome God that created the universe and everything in it. You're not in the universe. You're on the outside looking in. All the glory goes to you. And we thank you, God, for everything you do for us. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our risen Savior. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner. Now we'll go to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak to the Commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Commission? All right, seeing none, I'll close public comments, and we'll move to number 3, approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 25th, 2021, regular Commission meeting, June 8th, workshop, June 8th, regular City Commission meeting?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Commission about the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving to our consent agenda, items 1 through 3. Would any commissioner like to remove any item tonight? The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Curry, a second from Commissioner Danio. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now on to our regular agenda, Resolution 2021-R-39. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2021-R-39 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, amending the adopted budget for the City of Holly Hill for the fiscal year 2020-2021 and providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, this could have been on the last budget amendment that we did, but we had some follow-up to do with it. This is both the revenues that come in from the Department of Transportation and the Department of Law Enforcement. The Department of Transportation funds are the monies that we get in for the traffic lighting and the traffic signal maintenance. It's a pass-through that we get the money in that we contracted out. And then the money from FDLE is for the traffic radar system. So it just places them into the right budget line items in the current budget year.
Great. Thank you, and I assume everyone had time to review that. Is there any questions for staff? All right. At this time, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 2, Resolution 2021-R-40. Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2021-R-40 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, approving the proposed 2021-2022 CDBG annual plan application, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Forte?
Each year we get CDBG monies from the county, and we typically apply those dollars towards a lift station is what we've been using it for. Lift stations are qualified expenditures. Several years ago, we used to allocate 15% of that toward Hope Place, but it turns out that when we do that and we have to comply with the CDBG requirements for the $15,000, it's not worth us donating that money to Hope Place. So in the budget, we allocate general fund monies to Hope Place. So all of the CDBG money is going toward a lift station improvement. This particular one, I think, is lift station, no, 19. 17B is on the, yeah. So this is lift station 19, which will be funded for next year.
Thank
17B is, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff? At this time, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Penny and a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We have no public hearings tonight, so on to communications. We'll start with you, Mr. Forte. I see you have Florida League of Cities on there.
Well, that's really a reminder for you that the commission has to delegate one of your members that are going to the Florida League of Cities Conference in August as the voting delegate, so.
Okay.
something that you'll just
Who's
talk-
going? Is it just Commissioner
Commissioner
Johnson?
Penny, and I think Commissioner Johnson's going on some days, but not the whole thing.
Commissioner Curry.
Curry.
What did I say?
And,
Said Commissioner Penny.
She's Commissioner Penny to me.
but we don't want to get people confused.
I know who I'm talking, I know who I'm talking about.
More confused.
I'm going,
Okay. Oh, Roy's not going?
oh, okay.
Oh, you're not going?
You and I.
I looked at the agenda and I didn't see anything that
Piqued your interest?
necessary.
Okay. Well, would you like to be the voting
I
delegate?
certainly can.
All
I'll
right.
get up early.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to
Early
appoint
riser.
Commissioner Curry to be our conference voting delegate?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to her appointment? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. And we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? You are our voting delegate.
Glad to do
Mr.
that.
Forte.
Just want to let you know, we are a little behind on our audit report. The audit report will get up to the state in time by their deadline, but it's going to come to you a little bit late. It'll actually come to you after we send it up. But we're going to meet with each of you individually to go over the audit document, and then we'll have a public hearing on it as well. And then also in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing budget meetings, so you'll probably see some work session or budget sessions prior to meetings and potentially on an off night if we need to.
Sounds good. Is that everything?
That's it. The audit will be sent up after it comes to you, after it comes to the public meeting. I don't want you to think it's going to send up. I said that backwards. It goes up after the public, yeah. Goes up after the public meeting, but we're going to have it all done in time to meet their deadlines.
Okay. Are there any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Forte. Mr. Simpson?
No comments.
All right, Mrs. Manning? All right. I don't have anything tonight either, so we'll start over here with the Vice Mayor. Do you have anything for us?
Looks like someone's been busy on the floor. Think it's gonna look nice?
Yeah, it does look nice. It's starting to look nice.
That's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Curry?
I have nothing, so I hope everybody has a good night and stays dry.
I actually have something to talk
All right.
about.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, what a shocker there. I have a couple of things to address. I know.
Oh, no.
Okay. I want to at least get our money's worth there.
Yeah.
The paver project, we talked about at the memorial. Barring the fact that my sons did the project, but I was talking to Mr. Forte. I would like to recommend that we get with the group that's doing it, the company that's doing it, and there's going to be a big circle around the memorial, and then there are pavers that lead toward the city hall and toward the street. I just thought it'd be convenient and appropriate if we could take the memorial, the pavers that are in this project, take them on the outside of the circle and start filling them in that area towards City Hall. And at the same time, we could probably be a little more intentional with some of the past employees that have, either passed on in this, in the service with the city or have been instrumental in things that they've done with the city, because that was the whole point of the project to begin with when he did it. So, I mean, I'd kind of like to throw that out there. I'm not sure, if that's something that, because, in all fairness, we need to put his paver somewhere, because it was an Eagle project, and it was, So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
So are the pavers, are they gonna be the same?
I
Or-
don't know color-wise if they're going to be the same. Usually pavers have a blend of the color. I'll check with with Pinnacle Pavers when they go to put it in. My original thought was to relocate those pavers up closer to City Hall in the garden area here. But Commissioner Daniel mentioned possibly leaving them in the walkway that leads down to the circle, which we can certainly do. And if you want, we could even expand that. Right now, there are 3 names on that: John Capers, France, and
well, my son's on one of them, but there was somebody
Yeah.
else too. Wiggins?
Yes.
Oh, Wiggins.
and Wiggins.
Wiggins.
So those 3 names are on there, but we could expand that to other employees who died while employed with the city. And there's probably just as many employees as there are veterans that have died while on duty.
Oh.
I'm not talking about people that died after, once they've retired. I'm talking people that died while they were still getting a paycheck from the city.
Walt?
Oh, yeah,
Walt was one,
got Commissioner.
Milt Hallman was mentioned.
Dave.
We got Walt, Milt Holman.
Yeah, I mean-
We got Dave. We have, most of them, if not all of them, come out of Public Works. So there are a couple of water plant operators that have passed away while on duty. So there's a number of them that we might want to honor and go ahead and get their names put out there, and
If
as
the
well as a couple of
pavers,
commissioners.
if the pavers are different, then would you mind if they were reprinted, those 3?
No, I
Or
think
is that
that
like,
incorporating the project into the new
Yeah.
project would be the best answer, because
maybe
that
we
was
could
the
have
original
those
intent.
3 reprinted on the
Yeah, we'll
same
make if they
pavers?
don't match, then we'll get them put onto the bricks that they do have.
Okay.
But, if that's what the commission wants to do, we'll go ahead and make arrangements for that.
Yeah, Vice Mayor?
I can't recall the scope of the sidewalk coming up to City Hall, but, with all due respect to the Eagle Scout project, I don't want to confuse a Veterans Memorial with,
It's just going to stay out of the circle.
but I'm thinking even, the American flag is going to stay where it is. I'm thinking if you made a circle, a whole different intentional circle around that American flag, which is away from the memorial and closer to City Hall, you might have a sign of honor, because we fly the city flag at that same post. So it might be appropriate to have the people that passed away that were employees under the city flag and the American flag, and then just have the memorial clean unto itself. Because I think they're gonna line up, right? Aren't they gonna kind of match? Isn't that sidewalk gonna come up right to the flag?
Yeah, in fact, I mentioned to the mayor the possibility of expanding the sidewalk into a circle around the flag.
Yeah, that's
Funny that you
kind
say
of, I, just looking at it, trying to envision it from above ground, I think you don't confuse them. You have this space and that space, although it looks like the same space. I don't know, that's just, if I was planning it, that's how I would do it.
That's fine. I just think, the purpose of the I mean, it was your idea, which was a
No,
great
and
idea.
I want to
And-
remember the people, and I appreciate your son doing the project. I just don't want to blend
No, I-
them. But I
I
think
can-
if we had the distinction around the flagpole, and our city flag flies on that flagpole, I think
I
it,
just think we're missing some of the past,
no, and I think to your point, I think we should add some additional names to it.
we're working on that, if that's okay with you guys. Whatever we need to do, do we need to talk about that
We need
any
to
more
look
than
at,
just?
too, at how many names there really are, because I'm starting to think, I know we've lost a couple commissioners that have been in office, and that's just going back in my memory.
We lost 3.
Don't even point toward
The last 3 from Zone 3.
Don't even point toward.
Yeah, yeah.
We lost
Right.
4 from District
The
3.
last 3.
You got Shirley, Keith, Lou, and John.
That's right.
It stops there.
Stops there. And
Moving
then,
on. Okay, go ahead.
and then, I know we just recently lost another employee in Public Works a week or so ago. And
Hoping it was a little longer than that. It might have been a week.
Was
or two,
it?
but Yeah.
Yeah, a week or two. And then, yeah, there's a lot. We need to
Isn't
look
that-
at how many names there are, make sure there's enough real estate there, you know?
I mean, you
there'll
could,
be
and
enough.
if you make it a circle, hopefully it doesn't happen, but you could
could go
keep making
further.
it bigger and bigger and
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
But then you'd lose your center kind of, but, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay, are we good on that? All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Second thing I want to talk about, last week,
Well,
no, we,
I
okay,
want
sorry.
to make sure the commission's good with that before.
Yeah, I want to think on it more. I'm good with it, but just make
Well,
it
we need
all
to get
work.
together with Wes, or you're saying Warren was a contact, with Wes, he's who orders, but whatever, just to see how we can do it.
So conceptually, we are in agreement with it, and then we'll figure out where practically it's going to go.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing was, last week we talked about, and I wish Steve was here to talk about, the pavilion. And it was something that was kind of rattling around, and I got home, and, you know, sometimes when you leave, you're thinking it, and then you sort of think it through, you talk it through, and then one of the things that you were concerned with, and I was feeling the same way, was giving it to one group, charging somebody, they're using it week in and week out, somebody else uses it one time, why should they pay with these? So I came up with what I thought was kind of a good option, was having an annual fee of like $100. So they're paying for it, but they're only paying for a couple bucks a week. Somebody's going to pony up $100, and then somebody calls and says, I want it. Well, it's already been reserved. You're justifying the fact that they're paying for it. The worst thing that can happen in your scenario is somebody shows up, they've got it, and the contact person didn't get to certain person who drove from somewhere, and now there's a confrontation. You start out on the wrong foot. Yeah, they've got it reserved. You call the chief, he comes, he removes that but the whole thing starts out south. If they have it reserved, and Ms. Manning gets a call, I want to reserve something Tuesday night at 7, well, it's already been reserved. Well, they're not paying for it. Well, yes, they are. It's an annual fee. Well, they're only paying $2. Would you like to pay $100 and have an annual fee? Well, no, I only need it 1 or 2 weeks. It's $10 a week. Why would I want to pay $100? The point is, they're paying for it, they're paying for it, everybody's paying for it. It just seems like it'd be more of a fair factor in the whole thing. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I completely disagree,
Why?
because now you have allowed a group to monopolize a gazebo for $100 a year. If they want to monopolize it every Tuesday, they should pay full rate every week. They could reserve it for the entire year, but they should pay full price. Because the way it works now, they show up there and it's free. But if my child's birthday happens to be that Tuesday when that free group shows up, I might want to have my child's birthday party there. So I pay full price. A placard is put up, reserved for John Penny's kid's birthday party. If those people show up and they give me a hard time, I call Chief Aldrich and he takes them away. I don't think that, I appreciate the groups that are in the parks and they could use it for free, but if we gave them a discount rate, then we're doing exactly the opposite thing of what you wanted to do, is treat everyone fairly.
Well, you're giving them, you're not giving a discount rate, you're giving an annual rate. You can you can have the annual rate too, but you're only going to use it once or twice a year, if that.
Right, but then I could do an annual rate at the big pavilion and run my insurance agency from there with a laptop. I think you're setting up
Could have problems.
disaster.
Yeah.
Because then, what
not
if,
seeing
what if,
disaster.
what if you and I and the mayor reserve every pavilion in Sunrise Park for $300 for the year? No one else can use it.
Is it 1 hour or is it for the whole day?
No, you reserve it for.
You reserve it for the whole evening.
Yeah, however many hours.
So I think, I'm looking at it from the other way. I think if I want it, I'm gonna pay full price and to guarantee I have it. If I don't wanna pay full price, I can show up, and if someone is there before me, then it's theirs. I can't ask them to leave unless I pay full price, then I can ask them to leave. I'm just looking at it you and I are looking at it from a different direction.
Commissioner?
If we're going to seriously consider this, I'd like to workshop it, but I'd like to workshop it with Mr. Simpson there, because I do have questions about the legality of it, especially things I've learned over the years. We can't just single out one group. We can't go that route. And so I think it's something that needs to be done in a
I wasn't
workshop
trying to
setting.
single out a group.
Yeah, but I think Mr. Simpson needs to be there to clarify, because that was our problem at the last meeting.
Right.
We needed some clarification legally. So if we do a workshop, Mayor, then
Mr. Simpson, are you familiar with what we're talking about at the last meeting?
No, but I'm gathering based on what I'm hearing. you
We had a
talk about.
resident come to us and talk about certain groups that
Who was
were taking over.
It's the NSD meeting at Sunrise Park. You talked
Right.
about this back.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Right, and so John Penny had an idea of coming up with a system to where they could register, so they're on, right now, if the group goes there and they leave cigarette butts everywhere, we have to clean it up, blah, 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 we have nobody to contact. Right now, if someone rents it and people are there, then someone calls the cops, they get them out of there. If they refuse to leave, that's fine. But the idea is to put somebody on record responsible for that group, whichever group it may be. They have to register with us. But if someone wants, and they'll be there every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, let's say, but if somebody wants to rent that pavilion, let's say I rent it for a birthday party, I have the rights I go there, they post it, they're going to have to leave. So they're not paying anything to be registered with us, but we would just require them to be registered if it's a real group of people that are meeting there regularly.
There would be basically no regular meetings without registration.
Right.
Now, you're also assuming that there's a easy, chief shows up and there's no confrontation. Mrs. Smith doesn't get all worked up because Mr. Jones is giving her a hard time until the chief shows up. Now you've started out with a, upset mother of the birthday party because,
But that happens all the time now, John, anyways,
does it?
but
without people
again,
reserving it.
I still don't see how we can single out a group that wants to meet every week and take the chance that it's going to be rented out from underneath them, and our chief is going to have to go down there with his backup and remove them. I don't see how we can legally do that. We charge for groups to reserve it, but now this one group we're going to have register because they choose to meet there when it hasn't been reserved, but it's still allowed. Anybody is allowed to go there. I can go there and stake claim before they get there. They can't have me removed, just as well as if I get there after they
But they can
stake
go
claim.
and have their meeting around you while you sit there.
Well, they could.
That's true.
I mean, I can make them as uncomfortable as they make me, and I know that that's not what we want, but I just don't see how legally, and I'll hush now. Go ahead.
Mr. Forte?
How'd we do it in Seminole County, Forte?
It was different. What I was going to say is, we talked about this for almost an hour at the last meeting, and we're heading down that road now. So if you want, we can schedule it for a work session, give us time to get some data and some research and have answers for you instead of kind of battling it out
I will
now.
be completely happy with that as long as I can have access to Mr. Simpson.
You could always have access to Mr. Simpson.
You know what I mean?
Might
As
be
long
good.
as,
As long as it's not in the early months of August.
One question, because typically what cities want to try to avoid is, what I've seen, the bigger issue is, they don't want groups reappearing. They don't want church services showing up and churches conducting every Sunday worship. They don't want people engaged in business activities. They don't want the park to be converted to a business area. And so they limit how many times. What I've dealt with before is limiting how many times a group can rent during a year. Now, it seems to me that y'all are okay with that. And what you're trying to do is create a mechanism whereby they can come as many times as they want and they can reserve it unless somebody formally reserves it and that boots them out. That's obviously going to create a conflict when you do that. You have one person who thinks they're going to be there, and all of a sudden someone says, no, I got a priority status. And I don't know what type of group it is. I don't know if they're drug counseling, what they're doing. But they're going down there, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to go somewhere else, maybe to another pavilion. Do they get to have reservations on all of them, and they can move from one to, I don't know. But I think when you have two go in there, both with the understanding and thought that they have the right to use it, you're creating a potential for a conflict. And that's
Couldn't you explain the rules to it's an AA group and an NA group. There's two groups that meet there regularly. You tell the person that's who's in charge of the meeting, someone's facilitating that meeting on a weekly basis, say, listen, these are the rules. You could be kicked out at any time if there's a paying customer. If you want to guarantee you have a spot, then you pay us $70 a week or whatever the fee is.
My question would be, do you want the AA to have a right to routinely occupy and conduct business in your park? That's a decision y'all need to make.
We're not doing it
That's
now.
what you're creating. As opposed to, they may go down there, but they don't have a right. When you give them the right to reserve it, they are going to be, you're in essence saying
Well, they could reserve it if they paid.
but do you want to limit it? Do you want to say that a group can only limit how many times they can come because we don't want any one particular group occupying or monopolizing these things?
We don't want John Penny running his Allstate office out of the park.
Well, that's an example, but I mean,
Right.
it could be yoga classes, it could, whatever. Once we start renting it, and the big one we've dealt with before is people want to conduct, people are always looking for cheap places to conduct church services. So that's where they go down, let's do sunrise service every day. They'll do it down there. They'll start getting more and more people, and every Sunday they're down there doing church.
For $10.
$10. Do you want to allow that?
So we're open for that right now.
For free.
Well, or do we
Free.
want to say that, people can go there, but there's a difference between going there and then it being really an organized event where they know they've reserved the spot week in, week out. That's just a question for y'all. And I'm not saying one's legal,
So
one's not legal.
That's some things to think about for a workshop, is take those things into consideration.
And another consideration too is, how many times have we had problems with, let's say, the groups that are meeting there now that, let's say they leave too much cigarette butts and now we got to go and clean it up, or they destroy property?
I don't think they destroy property. I don't know that there's even been many conflicts of people showing up there. There have been occasions where a family may go there to have a birthday party or something like that, and you've got a group of, 20, 30, 40, 50 people that are in that particular affiliation that are meeting there, and the complaints are sometimes they use foul language. They're not very conservative in their approach to things. They're dropping cigarette butts all over the place. You're not supposed to smoke over there. So you get complaints like that. I have not, myself, in the 7 years I'm here, I have not received any complaints about that other than from who you had the complaint from last week, unless you've gotten anything.
Have any commissioners ever received a complaint?
Well, I personally experienced it during the art show.
Oh, really? They met during the art show?
The ladies had reserved the entire park for the art show, and a family showed up to have a memorial service for a loved one that had passed away. They had matching shirts, balloons, little kids were crying and everything, and the lady said, hey, we have this place reserved, but we'll let you come in here. How long are you going to be? An hour and a half. They were there like 3 hours, and we almost had to call the cops to get them out of there because they wouldn't leave, and it was reserved. So, I mean, I've seen it. My wife and I walk the parks Sunday mornings. There's a lot of people there. In the evenings, like Saturday, there was a meeting there at like 3 o'clock when we went. And I think the difference for me is a for-profit, not-for-profit business is the way I would. I don't want to talk about it anymore, but if that's how I was going to go, Scott, that's how I would go. If someone wants to go there and have a sunrise service, non-for-profit, that's one thing. If someone wants to go there and have a flea market and sell dog treats, that's a whole different thing, the way I look at it.
Even the nonprofits will take advantage of the free space.
I know, but are they now? Does anyone want to kick the AA and NA meetings out of there? I don't think this commission wants to do that, so.
I think they're providing
I
a
just want
service.
to level the field so that when somebody does reserve it, they don't get there and then the contact person couldn't get hold of this guy because whatever, and he shows up and now they got to deal with, I don't know, it just starts out to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of
We'll-
different
we'll-
sides to
we'll
this, so
workshop
let,
it. Yeah, I mean, it
so I
just-
think we should maybe throw it on a workshop coming up sometime soon, and, since we're not getting a lot of complaints, then I don't mind
It's not-
taking some time on this, so.
It's not imperative, but I mean, that's all I had. I had a couple things that, like I said, favorite thing and then the pavilion thing from last week,
Awesome.
so, okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Daniel. Commissioner Johnson?
One thing I have, I'd like to recognize that Jim Cameron is still with us. He hadn't gone anywhere yet. Hopefully he won't, right?
He did retire for about 6 hours.
Hey, there we go.
And he still says he'll pay you money if you don't, if And the only other thing I have is, don't take storm season for granted this year. It's coming on strong, it's already coming on strong, but just because it's not in one little area, it's always in another area, close by. That's big bad lately.
Yeah.
These guys are working, some of these guys are working these 25, 26 hours without stop right now. And it just started this month. It's gonna be a rough storm season. Whether we're ready for it financially or just for safety.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Is there any further business before this commission?
Nope.
With that, we are adjourned.
I thought you were gonna,
Adjourned.
I thought you were gonna,
Adjourned.
I thought you were gonna.
Adjourned.